everyone, thank you for visiting. Today I want to do like a layered envelope. And this is on the inside of one of the signatures. I had already measured out what would fit, and it came to like 3 by 4.5 because my page is only like 5 inches. So I looked on my envelope punch board, and that was the closest measurement, was 3 by 4.5. So I know I'm going to have to cut my papers 6.5 by 6.5. I'm looking through this beautiful pad that I got at Hobby Lobby, and everything matches. I was just looking for a certain two that I liked. I had done this before, and I might have even videoed it. I can't remember. It was a tutorial by Gi Kerr, and I know she had to do some kind of measurements, and I remember having to do some kind of measurements to fit 3 envelopes on it, and I just didn't feel like messing with that or looking for the videos. And I'm sure I have a scrap piece of paper somewhere that has some measurements on it, but I was just in a mood to create and not look up everything. And it's a good challenge for my brain to try to figure things out. So where I have to score first is at the 2 3/4. So I measured that top left corner up to the ruler on the top left. And then I punched and I scored. And as I'm flipping it around, I'm but lining up the score to that little arrow. I only line it up to the ruler one time. So then I just line up to the arrow, punch and score, line it up, punch and score. Now, unfortunately, I did run into some problems with this paper. I don't remember having problems before. I don't know whether I scored too hard this time or not, but it did start to tear. And I went ahead and was able to fix that with some tape. I had tried the alcohol ink and putting it on the regular Scotch tape to give that antique look, that vintage look. And so I have a couple of pieces that I'm going to use. And the rest I'm just going to use some washi tape. So here I'm just, folding and burnishing and figuring out which one I want on top. And then, of course, I have to go through and distress all the edges. A lot of times I like to cut off that bottom flap a little bit so that it doesn't have that big curve, that pointy part. It just depends on what mood I'm in. I've noticed I go either way. As I'm doing this, I'm noticing, pieces tearing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look. What up with that, I say. Like I said, I don't remember it happening with this one before. So here comes some of that regular tape, and I use a glue stick just to make sure that it's going to stay down. There's a few videos out there online that show that, you just stick some regular clear tape onto some waxed paper and then use your alcohol inks. And I also have that blending solution that helped the inks move around. And it gave it kind of that dirty look. And it has that vintage look. So, but I only had like 2 pieces left. The other color, I think, was green or blue. And I didn't want to use that here. So a lot of what I'm doing is checking to make sure that there are no other pieces that are going to tear, as you open up the top flap. But it seemed to be holding okay. So I'm just using the art glitter glue to glue right along the edges. And that way I'm sure to catch the flaps and not go over and glue the inside. And I do the same thing with this one. This one seemed to be weaker, and then so I just decided to be on the safe side and use washi tape all around it. It seems that when we're doing junk journaling, washi tape comes to the rescue. And when I was doing mixed media, gesso was always coming to the rescue to fix our mistakes or boo-boos or, to help out where we needed it. So I'm kind of happy, because I've got all these washi tapes still, and I don't want them drying up before I get to use them. Even though these flaps would not have been opening and closing, I probably could have got away with not doing those 3 sides, but I just figured while I was at it, just go for it. Because once you glue those 3 sides down, they're not going to be moving, opening and closing. Because it didn't look like it had separated anywhere. So I think I was just being on the safe side. I'm just trimming really slow and carefully because I didn't want to cut up the whole flap. I only have this sped up like 1.5, I think. So hopefully it'll be pretty clear to see what it is I'm doing. And I'll try to find Gi Kerr's original tutorial for the layered envelopes. And I'll try to link it down in the description box. She has a lot of wonderful tutorials, so definitely go check her out either way. She does a lot of the shabby chic, lacy stuff as well, and just neat ideas for pockets and tuck spots and decorating. Let me see what else I was thinking of. I think that was it. I just wanted to be sure everything was secure, nothing was about to fall off. And somehow those 2 envelopes, even though I measured them supposedly correct, the same one was like a millimeter bigger than the other. So I just can't do perfect, but that's okay. I don't even try anymore. You try your best. I try my best. And I wouldn't have just left, the holy pockets there. But I'm not going to stress if it's, a millimeter bigger. I think I put the bigger one on the bottom. Here I'm just trying to measure out. I want the same distance on the top and the bottom and the sides. And I put a little pencil line there so that I know where to place this envelope. So I don't have to fiddle again to measure out the distance. That did help a lot. I don't think I did that last time. I kept trying to grab the other ones, and by then your glue is dry and you can't move it. So it helped. And I'm going to put a teeny tiny little pencil mark for this bottom one. And I want to get it low enough so it's easy enough to flip up the top flap of that envelope. There we go. I was able to cover that little pencil mark so I didn't have to erase it. So here I'm trying to find some lace. I can't remember if she had used another piece of paper for this little closure for the bottom envelope or not, but I just wanted to use some lace just to make it pretty. Now I do have to be careful because I want to be sure that the lace is nice and taut so that the flap is not lifting up. So I make sure after I glue that one side down, I make sure that it's glued down and pretty dry so it won't move. And then as I'm gluing the edge on the right, I'm holding the lace flat and stretched out as much as I can, without overstretching. Just be sure that it's going to be nice and taut to keep that flap down. So you see me, I got a hold of it. And then while I'm doing all this, I'm trying to think of how I want to decorate it. I think I'm looking for a tag to show you that there's a tuck spot there, there. And then as you open up, you got more tuck spots. So a lot of tuck spots. And I saw some white space, so you know I have to pull out my trusty little script stamp. I love it. And I love that. I think that's coffee from the archival ink. It just has that real vintage look. So I knew I wanted a butterfly, but I didn't have any small butterflies or ones that were in this color. And I finally remembered that I have those button butterflies. I've had those for years. So I'm finally being able to use them up. So it's just a wooden button that I got off a line somewhere. And then on the right side, I'm thinking, of course, I need a button to balance it out. So I go to look through my button tin. And I sat in front of the TV not too long ago and just sewed thread on a ton of buttons. And of course, when you're looking for them, they seem to be hidden on the bottom somewhere. I know they're in there. And I eventually find one. So sometimes you want the thread on it, sometimes you don't. But this time I felt like it needed it. So that's what I use. So this was pretty easy. It does help when you have the scoreboard and you don't have to do a lot of math. So I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope you give it a try. And happy creating. Bye-bye.